Hi, so in this video today, I'd like to talk about how I deal with customer complaints and how I like to think I can turn them into opportunities and to make more money and get referrals and things like that. So the reason I wanted to make a video like this is because it's one of these things that I see a lot in Facebook groups that seems to create a lot of heavy debate. And I really do feel like a lot of photographers are missing opportunities by not dealing with customer complaints properly. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Richard. I'm a full-time photographer in Australia. I own this studio here along with my wife. We specialise in boudoir photography and our studio turns over multiple six figures per annum. I make these videos because I really enjoy talking about the business of photography and business in general. So what I'd like to do is give you a real world example, if that's okay. So to give you a bit of backstory, what happened was a girl came in, she did a boudoir shoot. She did it for pretty much for a wedding, for bridal boudoir. She happens to be a nurse, a healthcare worker. She came in, did the shoot, absolutely loved the photos at the end, but she couldn't decide. So then she decided that she would go home and tell her fiance about it and get him to help her decide. So we went from having a surprise into this, which is fine. I said, that's absolutely fine. We organised a Zoom meeting. We met the next morning. I met with her and her fiance. They went through and they picked out the photos that they loved, and that was great. Then a few more weeks went by. We organised the album. We did all the retouching and everything like that. The album got here. She came to pick it up. She loved it. She cried. That was all great, and everything was good. Now, so you've been wondering, obviously, well, what's the problem? The problem was that what happened was after she had the album for a little while, she saw some things that she didn't like about the album. And so rather than me try and explain it now, I will read the text that she sent through. Good morning, Richard. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I've been looking over and over my photo book and I absolutely love the photos. I'm sorry to bear this, but I do have an itch about some of the photos and I thought I really wouldn't mind, but I think one of my blemishes under my nose may not have been edited out in some of the photos. And as much as I absolutely adore the photos, I can't help but notice and think about as it's standing out to me. I really do apologise for this and for having to say this after all the amazing things that you've done for me. Could there be anything that can be done with the book? I'm so sorry. So as you can see, she's a really nice girl and she's very diplomatic about the whole thing. So I'll show you in a minute how we went about resolving this and how we responded to this. But when I thought about doing this for a video, I thought it'd be really interesting to get an idea of what other photographers would do about it. So I posted that screenshot to a very popular Facebook group called Rise to the Top with Megan DePiro, which is a Facebook group with about 20,000 photographers. And they talk mainly about the business of photography. So I want to get an idea of what people who are interested in the business of photography would do about it. And the answers I got were very wide and varied. So Megan, if you do happen to stumble across this video, I do apologise for using your group to create content for my YouTube channel, but there you go. So the following is roughly how photographers responded. And I got, I think, over 100 responses to that post. The first one was people want to know what was in our contract. And I get that. A lot of people live and die by their contracts. A lot of people are very enthusiastic about having contracts. We personally choose not to have a contract, which I talked about in another video, and I won't cover that here, okay? But so we don't do that. The second most popular response was people asked what our proofing procedure was, and we don't have a proofing procedure, which I'll explain to you shortly. The third thing was people, and this always happens, people felt compelled to tell how they go about doing things and how we probably should be doing them. Another one was people suggested that we reprint it and charge her. Other people suggested we reprint it and charge her some of it, which I thought was a bit strange. Some people suggested that we reprint it and keep the copy that she didn't like as a studio sample, which is probably a good idea actually. And then a bunch of people, unfortunately in my opinion, the least amount of people said that we should do whatever it takes to make her happy. Okay, so let me read to you how we replied. We replied with this. Oh, I think I see what you mean. I left that because it looks like what used to be called a beauty mark, like a natural bump or a mole, as opposed to a pimple or rash or similar. I treat them like scars and do not edit them out unless specifically requested, as it's part of people. Having said that, we have a 100% satisfaction policy. If it drives you crazy, I can edit that out and get the book reprinted. And that's what we do. We have a 100% satisfaction policy. So If in this case, if she wanted us to reprint it, we would happily do it. But just to circle back for a couple of things. So, like I said before, we don't have contracts. I won't get into that again. I mentioned I have got another video on that. But also, we don't have a proofing routine. So, in other words, we don't send the edits and the books off for them to sign off on. And you might be looking at this video going, "This guy's an idiot. Why wouldn't you do that?" Well, the reason that we don't do it is, excuse me, is a practical reason. We get a lot of ladies through the studio, and what we've found is that this just doesn't come up very often at all. In fact, in the whole time I've had a studio, this is the second time that it's happened. Okay, the first time was with a wall print, which in that case we reprinted, and that was fine. In this case, and so for us it's a time-saving thing. So for us to have to create a proof, send it off, and get them to approve it, it adds another layer of admin, another procedure that we've got to do, another time thing that's got to happen, another thing that they've got to do before we can finalize the work. So we decided that we will just do the editing, create the books, and leave it like that. Okay, and like I said, we just don't ever get any complaints. Everyone tends to be thrilled with it. So that's the reason we do it like that. But enough of that. Let me show you how she replied. So she said, "Good morning. I've had a long think about it overnight, and I thought I'd let you know that I'm happy to keep the book as is. It's just too gorgeous. And also, now that I have Adrian's kiss mark, it's made it more special." So what happened was, apparently when he got the book, or when she showed him the book, he kissed the book, and he was so thrilled with it. So that's obviously nice. She goes on to say, "It may be a big ask, but please, if I'm outside my boundaries, you can say no, but would it be possible to see these photos without the pimple mark? The digitals will be something I would post to my profile and give me a little more peace of mind, I think. Again, it's not too much. Again, if that's too much, then no worries at all." And she goes on to, this is the important bit, she goes on to say this. "P.S. I think I'm slowly recruiting a tribe for your business. I've shown a few of my lady friends at work and they're very impressed and are all thinking about it." So there you go. So just explain a couple of little things there. What she's talking about with the digitals is we provide a copy of whatever she buys in digital format for her phone, and we happen to use Pixie-Set. So we supply it as an app. It's not a real app. It's like a little gallery thing that gets installed to a phone. And we supply those free of charge because we want our clients to show their friends, and hopefully their friends, like in this case, will come in and book again. So that's what she's referring to. So obviously that was no problem. It took a grand total of 2 minutes to get rid of that blemish. And so I redid that and sent it down to her. So that was no problem at all. But the important thing, I think, is that last paragraph where she goes on to say that she has been recruiting a tribe of people for our business. Now, obviously, because she's texting this, she's already done it. But the fact that she's brought it up because we were offering to do what she wanted to do without giving her any problems indicates that she's going to continue to do it and continue to recommend us enthusiastically. So that's an important distinction, I feel. Now, let's run this back and talk about if we had have done it another way. So say I had gone back to her and said, "Look, I'm sorry, all prints are final. There's nothing I can do about it." Or if we had a contract, I said, "No, sorry, in the contract it says that all prints are final." Or if she proofed it and didn't see the thing, she said, "No, sorry, you proofed it, bad luck, blah, blah, blah." So in her case, because she's a nice person, she would have accepted that and that would have been fine. But at the same time, I feel it would have left a slightly bad taste in her mouth. She would have been not as complimentary towards us. And what might have happened was she might not have continued to recommend us to her friends as enthusiastically as she has been. And some of those people have come in and they've spent thousands of dollars. One thing I'd like to pass on is just some of my experience from being in retail for so long and having other businesses. And that is that people will hold on to bad experiences way longer than good experiences. What I mean by that is, even though, for example, this lady's super enthusiastic and told all her friends, at some point that enthusiasm will drop away. Okay, it'll just become a thing that she's done, and that's great. So if I hadn't responded to her complaint or concern in a timely manner, or tried to fob her off, or tried to ignore her, or tried to put the blame back on her, all those things, those things stick with people. What I'd like to do is talk about, just very quickly talking about dealing with complaints in general. The first thing is, if you do get a complaint or a concern or whatever, it's really important to acknowledge and get onto it straight away. Now, say you're really busy and you can't get onto it straight away, it's worth even just letting them know what the status is. Just say, look, I'm really busy, I can't get to this on Wednesday, I'll get back to you by 10 o'clock Wednesday. But the sooner you get back to it, the better. Nothing pisses people off more than not knowing, okay? So, and that will get them absolutely ropeable and get their backs up, okay? So it's important that you do that. The second big thing I think that's really useful is, now, what can happen is, and a lot of people might not along with this, not everyone's as nice as this lady here. So, in my opinion, the best way to treat the complaints is just think of it purely as information. So don't take it personally. Don't take it as an attack on your work or your products or whatever the case may be. Just treat it purely as information. You go, right, this is what they're complaining about. What can I do about it? If you do that, you'll separate yourself from it emotionally, okay? Because especially if they're complaining about the quality of your work, it's very easily to take that very personally. But the other thing too is, I feel I'm getting a little bit off the beat track, but I think it's worth mentioning, is that people these days will generally complain through email and text, okay? It's rare for people to pick up the phone and do it like that. And I feel that a lot of the nuance has been lost as a result of that. Like people, it's very difficult to convey a tone and intent, especially in a text message or something like that, and certainly in an email. So I think that's another thing to keep in the back of your mind. What they're saying and the tone in which they're saying it might not be exactly what they mean. So you just got to look at it, like I said before, just look at it for what it is and then just deal with it best you can. The other thing too is, if you decide to go down the track that I'm suggesting, which is to do anything to make clients happy because you want to get referrals, then it's important to reply and deal with these the same for everyone. So if say someone's being really unpleasant, you still got to treat those people with the same level of niceness, like, I don't know how else to put it, than you would with a really good customer like the one I just referred to then. And that is be graceful, diplomatic, and just offer that you'll rectify their problem and you're happy to do it. As opposed to doing it in a backhanded way. In other words, coming at it from a place of being defensive and coming from a place of proving that you're right, but you're going to help them out anyway. And so let me give you, I'll try and give an example. There's something like, dear so-and-so, we'll reprint the book despite the fact that, you agreed to the proof that you saw. We've done everything correctly. We will reprint the book. But just to be clear, this is the final one. We're not prepared to do it again, but we want to keep you happy. Now, that comes across as being kind of like, we'll do this, but we're not happy about doing it. And so what happens then is you've still got to reprint the damn book or whatever it is you're doing and still left a bad taste in their mouth. Sometimes you've got to swallow your pride, not be right, because as humans, we want to be right about things, okay, and just make them happy and be good about it. To sum up, I mentioned in the title of this video that by dealing with complaints and concerns a certain way can actually be a profitable thing to do. Quite often that short-term pain of having to pay for something else or redo something can really yield you good results in the long run. And a really good example is what I've just been talking about. That girl who, that really nice lady who came in here will not talk badly about it. She'll continue to be, referred or friends, that type of thing. If you also do any commercial work as well, like say you do a lot of headshots or commercial photography or something like that, my experience has been often your most demanding pain in the ass clients will become your best and most loyal clients and also be really big advocates for you. I noticed that a lot back when I did business to business work. So by basically standing by your work, sometimes swallowing your pride and fixing things that aren't even necessarily your fault, I feel that in the long run, it can be amazing. In fact, it's so good sometimes I feel that like I'm tempted to actually do things incorrectly on purpose so I can fix them. Obviously you would never do that because that's just dumb. But it's such a powerful thing to do, is to be proactive about problems and get on top of them and get in front of them and help people resolve them, that can be a really huge thing and can be a massive positive. And I've found that by doing that, it's made my business dealings a lot easier. I found I get a lot more business as a result. And honestly, it just makes your life easier. So there you go. I hope you got something out of this. If you did get something out of this video, I would love you to subscribe to the channel. If you are subscribed to the channel already, I would love you to like the video, or even better yet, leave a comment. Apparently those things really help a lot. But until I see you again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. Until the next video, have a great day. Thank you again for watching.